Well, I think that question was posed on 60 Minutes last night. Let's fast forward to what's happening right now. There are no tariffs. There's a pause on this because, as has been reported by CNN and every other news outlet, both Mexico and Canada have reached agreements today with Donald Trump to do what we want them to do, which is to put people and technology and resources at the border to stop the flow of people and drugs, illegal immigration, stem the tide. That is the whole point of this exercise. And that is apparently what is happening. And yes, there have been some troops there in Mexico. This is an agreement to do permanent deployment. And yes, some of this stuff in Canada was already announced, but now they were dragging their feet. Now their feet are held to the fire. They've got 30 days to really implement, and they can't pussyfoot around anymore. So the point of this exercise today, to me, had less to do with trade and more to do with saying to our neighbors, you need to be better neighbors. We are more important to your economy than you are to ours, so you need to help us with our serious problem, which is illegal immigration and people dying from fentanyl. And they both said yes today, and that is a win for Donald Trump.
You know, before I begin today's video, I think it is relevant to play for the audience something I said just a little bit less than 24 hours ago. So take a listen and let's remember this very important context because we told you so. We all collectively told you so. The trade war between the United States, Mexico, and Canada has officially begun. Now, I'm personally kind of curious to see how long this actually lasts because I think that within the span of a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, heck, who knows, maybe even a couple of days, Canada and Mexico are very rapidly going to find out that they need the U.S. economy much more than the U.S. needs their economies. Oh, libs. Oh, liberal. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson? How many times do we need to tell you that Trump's negotiation strategies work and are powerful? How many times do we need to tell you that tariffs are a fantastic negotiating strategy? And as a matter of fact, if the prior administration might have been serious about using them to get things from other countries that might actually be good for the American people, who knows? Maybe he, at 80,000 years old, would still be sitting in the Oval Office right now. But nonetheless, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, because today we can officially report that the so-called trade war between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, after Trump announced tariffs against them until they fixed the fentanyl problem and the border problem flowing into our country, I can announce that that trade war has officially lasted an entire 24 hours until it concluded. That is right. We had the one-day long, the most dramatic one-day trade war ever, because now immediately, the very next day, not even making this up, Canada and Mexico picked up the phone and they said, we're so sorry, Mr. President. Here's what we're going to do. We'll give you that full story here in a second. First, folks, do us a big favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure that you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. You subscribing is the #1 way to ensure that we can keep bringing you these videos. It's completely free. And guys, hit that red button to laugh at Prime Minister Trudeau and President Sheinbaum because they both look like complete morons right now. Of course, this past weekend, literally it was on Saturday where they were all talking tough. They were saying, we're not going to mess with this retaliation from the United States. We're going to do our own tariffs. You want to mess around, America? You're going to find out. We're so tough. And what did I say at the time? I said the whole thing is performative. Why? Because Canada and Mexico know that they cannot possibly compete in a trade war with the United States. There is, of course, the obvious fact that our economy is much bigger and much stronger than theirs. But on top of that, you take a look at something like the fact that over 75% of the exports from Canada and Mexico go to the United States. In other words, their economy literally relies on exporting stuff to us. They're not going to survive these tariffs. You take a look at the fact that the Canadian dollar in comparison to the US dollar plummeted in the span of 24 hours. Again, their economy was never fit to handle this. That's why Trump knew exactly what he was doing. That's why Trump knew if he threatens tariffs against Canada and Mexico, he's going to get exactly what he wants. But the reason why he had to implement them for a very short time and show that he was following through is, again, because you had to show these people that you were serious, right? Because the first time when Trump threatened these things, you got some performative half measures. You had the Canadian government and the Mexican government saying, yeah, of course we'll do something. But of course, what did a lot of people think at the time? Trump's not really serious about the tariffs. You know, it's just all performative. So Trump had to show, no, you mess around. You do not comply. We're absolutely going to do them. And of course, what is the situation that we are now in? Well, let's start, of course, with none other than Justin Trudeau, this absolute clown who thought he was going to look so tough against Trump, and Trump just continues to bully him and make him look stupid every single day. Well, just a couple of hours ago, Justin Trudeau says, I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, and enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increase resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. strike force, joint strike force there to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I have also signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl, and we will be backing it with $200 million. And as a result, the proposed tariffs from Trump will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. So to make a long story short there, again, what basically happened here? Well, first of all, you have the Canadian government, Justin Trudeau, panicking about these tariffs, and he's like, oh my gosh, they are actually real. Just gives in to all of Trump's demands on border security. And now what is Trump doing? He is pausing the tariffs for 30 days. I think it's very important and very powerful that Trump is not outright saying we're never going to do the tariffs, because you have to also ensure you have to enforce that Canada, as well as Mexico, as we'll show you in a second, follows through on their promises. But hey, that's one way to start a trade war and then end it immediately because you get exactly what you want. I mean, this is too easy. And it's kind of infuriating almost, because it really begs the question, if it was this easy, why have we not done this all along? You look at the massive border crisis that happened under Biden, and it once again verifies, despite all of the Democrat talking points about how the border was a complicated issue, that actually everything that happened under Joe Biden's border was voluntary. It was allowed to happen. It really was this easy to fix. But of course, the prior administration, let's not forget, didn't want to fix it. It was an intentional and deliberate invasion of the United States. And in that sense, Joe Biden, it's absolutely fair to call him a traitor to the people and the country of the United States of America. But nonetheless, here you also have Claudia Sheinbaum. This is the new president of Mexico. So she went out actually earlier today. She caved even before Justin Trudeau and said, we had a good conversation with President Trump with great respect for our relationship and sovereignty. We reached a series of agreements. Mexico will immediately reinforce the northern border with 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico, particularly fentanyl. The United States is committed to working to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico. Our teams will begin working today on two fronts, security and trade. They are pausing tariffs once again for 1 month from now. So there you have it, guys. After all of that tough rhetoric, immediately both of these world leaders have decided, actually, I think we kind of need the United States. And Mr. Trump, how can I help you? It's hilarious.
Look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different.
Yeah, but of course, libs keep trying to tell me that tariffs don't work. Trump's foreign policy is going to fall flat on his face. He can't be doing this. No. I think this really does sum it up right here, right? Here's the cycle. Trump wants a foreign leader to do something. Trump announces tariffs. The left claims that the tariffs won't work this time because no, Trump can't do this. Leader caves. The foreign leader caves and Trump gets exactly what he wants. Shout out to Red Eagle Politics for this graphic. And that literally just does sum it up. You know, it's funny. I saw so many pundits on the left complaining about how this is not how you engage in diplomacy. You need to basically be sleeping like Joe Biden and somehow that'll make other foreign countries do the things that you want. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Okay. All of this stupid, like neoliberal rhetoric about working together on the grounds of democracy or mutual partnership or friendship. That's not how the world works. That's not how geopolitics works, okay? The truth is, whatever slogans we want to throw on it, democracy, human rights, something, no. The ultimate truth is that in geopolitics, everyone is self-interested, right? Every nation is looking out for itself. They're going to try to defend their own interest. And so you can have this nonsense talk about how, oh, but the mutual alliance between Canada and Mexico and the US and whatnot. No. You have to show these people, like, if you want another country to do something, you have to leverage. You have to say, okay, look, if you don't do this, it's going to hurt your own self-interest. And that's just the truth. And that's exactly why this tariff strategy from Trump when it came to border security was so ridiculously successful. And once again, why the left was so hilariously wrong about this entire thing. Yet again, many such cases.
Now, actually, I was in the air. I talked to the president very briefly about this. He spoke with the president of Mexico this morning, and the president of Mexico committed to putting 10,000 additional Mexican troops on that southern border, our southern border, of course, the Mexicans' northern border, to take law enforcement more seriously, to go after those Mexican drug cartels a little bit more aggressively. So for literally 3 days, I heard the far left in this country say that these tariffs would make Americans' lives worse off. And what actually happened is the Mexican government was so afraid of the tariffs that they actually are taking their border enforcement and their anti-cartel activity more seriously. That is not a pathway to making Americans worse off. That's a pathway to making Americans better off.
Yeah, as usual, the seethers and the doubters and the haters of Trump are wrong time and time again. Who is exactly surprised? I think it's time to make the apology form, okay? The I'm sorry, President Trump form. My handwriting is really bad, but all you guys can sign right here, okay? I'm sorry, President Trump. This is a vow that it won't happen again. I'm sorry for doubting you. I'm sorry for constantly seething about you over stupid nonsense. And many people should be signing the Donald Trump apology form today, but that includes none other than Chuck Schumer, who apparently was fear-mongering about the price of beer. And 24 hours later, literally 24 hours later, he looks really stupid. Take a listen.
Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
Of course, we know that Chuck Schumer, this guy right here who apparently thinks this is how you cook a burger, he knows all about Super Bowl Sunday. But there you have it. Again, so this is like President Trump's leadership. This is what happens. This is what happens when you hold other nations accountable. This is what happens when you put people's feet to the fire. As it turns out, guys, it's not really that hard. Here was Trump's statement on it as well. He says, I just spoke with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. It was a very friendly conversation wherein she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border and separating Mexico and the U.S. These soldiers will specifically be designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into our country. We further agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariffs for a 1-month period, during which we will have negotiations headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, and high-level representatives of Mexico. I look forward to participating in those negotiations with President Sheinbaum as we attempt to achieve a deal between our two countries. And it does not stop there, because you want to add to the list of many other countries that are caving to President Trump's demands. Like about a week ago, remember, it was Colombia. Colombia was refusing to take the migrant flights, and now they're taking all the migrant flights and sending even the presidential plane to help with deportations. Well, after Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited the nation of Panama this past weekend, already Panama is exiting China's Belt and Road Agreement after Secretary of State Marco Rubio's visit. President Molino said he plans to not renew it when it expires in a year or two, but he wants to see if the agreement can be exited early. This agreement essentially increases China's economic influence in member countries. Of course, this is a big issue that Trump has been bringing up, the control of the Chinese over the Panama Canal. So President Trump has been pressuring Panama to curb Chinese influence around the canal, and Rubio was sent this weekend to convey the message. So there you go. Already, Panama is promising, after Trump threatened to annex the canal, to back away from China. But with that said, I have to say the work there is still not complete, because we do want that canal. Like, that canal is literally ours. We built it. We're also the reason in history why Panama has independence in the first place. Jimmy Carter made a big mistake just caving to the pressure there. And now you look at Panama, a nation who has literally no standing military. What are we so afraid of? The canal is ours. They better give it back. But there you have Panama. And now, guys, you even have Mexican President Sheinbaum telling Mexicans living in the U.S. that if they want to return to Mexico, they will be received with open arms. So there you have it, right? For a long time, it was like, we're not going to take the deportation people because despite the fact that supposedly illegal immigration is contributing so much to America's economy and culture, we don't want them back, right? Remember that whole drama? Well, now they're saying, no, come back. Please, actually come back. We want you here. We welcome you here. We'll welcome you with open arms because we're scared of Trump and his tariff threats. There you have it, guys. So on all fronts, we're not tired of winning yet, but we keep winning. There you have it. The trade war lasted 24 hours. That's just too funny. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.